All right, now we're going to be filling out the notes that are on page 12 of your Unit 4 Proportions packet. This is an extension of our consumer applications, but they're kind of a little bit different type of problem. So first, looking at these bullet points, proportions and percents. We can use proportions to solve percent problems too. Percents are special ratios. Go ahead and fill in that first blank. With denominators of 100. Every single time you see a percent, so for example, 27%, you can write that as 27 over 100. And we know that because we can change our percents into fractions from our last unit. So when we create proportions and cross multiply, we're going to use the following graphic organizers. So I want you to draw boxes around these. This is kind of like your cheat sheet for this part of our notes. All right, make sure that you have that because when I scroll down, you will not be able to see it anymore. All right, so let's look at our first example. It says, what percent of 25 is 8? So whenever I see a problem like this, I kind of get confused on what exactly goes together. So I try to draw boxes around the pieces that go together. So here it says, what percent? Then my next part of the section says, of 25. And then the last section says, is 8. And this tells me exactly where each one of those pieces go. So as I look up at those graphic organizers, I'm seeing that I see some keywords. I see is, I see of, and I see that I have a percent, which I know goes over 100. So right here, I'm looking for the word that goes with is. And you can see that I have is and 8 put together. So I'm going to put the 8 on top of that fraction right there. Now the next keyword that I'm looking for is the of. And you can see that of is right underneath the is. Of is set with 25 in that statement. So I'm going to put 25 underneath. And then where it says what percent, well, if I don't know what percent it is, I'm going to put X. Remember, our percent is whatever number has that percent symbol. And since I don't know what it is, I'm going to put an X there. Once I have my proportion set up, this is exactly like when we cross multiplied and solved our WKUs. So I'm going to connect the ones that need, I'm going to connect the ones that go together here. And I'm looking for the number that's connected to X. So I'm going to squish together 25 and X, because two numbers squished together means to multiply. And 8 times 100 is 800. When I draw my railroad tracks and divide by 25, I'm going to get X equals, and type that into your calculator, you're going to get 32. So when it says what percent of 25 is 8, the correct answer here is 32. Let's try another one that's kind of like that. So again, I'm breaking apart the pieces, drawing boxes around what goes together. So the first thing I see is 40%. And that's easy because it's already tells me that 40 is the number that goes with the percent. So when I make my graphic organizer, you always want to start out like this. And then you're looking for the number that has the percent sign. So I'm going to put 40 on top of 100 here. Now I'm looking back at my sentence. It says of what number? Well, if I don't know what that is, that means that I'm talking about my X. Remember, of goes on the bottom of my ratio in the denominator. And then the last section, it says is 35. So the is goes on top. I'm going to put 35 on top of that proportion. Once you get it made, all you're doing is cross multiplying. My equation here is 40x equals 3,500. Draw your railroad tracks, divide by 40. I'm going quick here because we've been doing this for a while. And when you put that into your calculator, you're going to get an answer of 87.5. And having decimals, remember, when we talk about proportions, that's very common. So I'm okay with the decimal there. All right, we are looking at our last example of this note sheet on page 12. So this is a word problem, and this is where you really got to be careful about where your part and your whole and your percent over 100. So just a reminder, I know you guys can see it on yours, but I'm going to make myself a little reminder here. The part goes on top, just like fractions, equals that number over 100. So I'm going to read through this and try to figure out your important information. The school football team has 30 players, so I'm thinking that's probably pretty important. I'm going to remember that. And 60% of them played last year. So there's another important number here. How many players played last year? So as I'm making my proportion, again, you always start with those two ratios with 100 on the bottom of that other one. I'm trying to figure out where my percent is, because that's the easiest thing to pick out. Well, I'm seeing here that I have a number with a percent, so I'm going to put that 60 on top of the 100. Now I've got to look at that other number. I've got 30 players, and I have to decide if that is part of the football team or the whole football team. Well, let's read that sentence again. It says the school football team has 30 players. So they're talking about the entire football team. So I'm going to put 30, that's the whole football team. And I don't know how many of them played last year. That's what they're asking me. So the part of the team that already has played is that part that I do not know. So I'm going to put an X on top of that 30. Now I'm ready to cross multiply. So I'm going to get 100X equals 1,800. Draw those railroad tracks. And I get X equals 18. And remember, anytime you've got a word problem, you need to make sure that you have a label there. So again, we're talking about players. And that is my final answer. So now I want you to go ahead and work on page 13 and 14 of your packet and try some of these out.